What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about the CBA and also talk about free agency, a player that I would like us to possibly sign with our Atlanta Falcons in free agency. But with that being said, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Also hit that like button. I appreciate every single one of you guys who have recently subscribed, and I appreciate all the love you guys have been showing me. Let's continue to grow this thing and get this thing to 1K so we can go ahead and start doing our live videos. I did hit a milestone and did get into the 200 mark. So 800 more subscribers to go to get to that 1,000 mark. But I couldn't have done it without you guys. So I appreciate each and every one of you. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about the CBA. If you haven't been watching ESPN or NFL Network, they did push the deadline for the CBA back from Thursday to Saturday. So personally, I believe that the players will eventually end up signing and agreeing to the deal. I'm not too sure if they will or not, but personally, I think that they will. You never know with these things, though, or how it may turn out. You know, it could possibly be a lockout. I hope that there's no lockout because I love my Atlanta Falcons. I love bringing you guys the most up-to-date content I can. And I hope to see some Falcons football this upcoming season. Now, with that being said, I do hope that the players get all of the money, all of a bigger percentage of the money or a bigger cut of the pie. I do believe that the players deserve more money than they're receiving. I also hope that the players get better health benefits, even for the players that are retired and for players that once their career ends, I hope they get better coverage and stuff like that, because football is a very dangerous sport. And you see a lot of players are now walking away from the game at younger age, like Megatron walked away. Recently, this offseason, the Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly walked away from the game. Andrew Luck, before last season started, stepped away from the game because of injuries. So I just hope that these players stay healthy, and I hope they get as much money as they can get while they're playing professional football. But I do believe that the players deserve, a bigger piece of the pie. Just because they're the ones out there entertaining the fans. I don't really believe that any of us really care about who owns the team. We just want to see good football, and we watch the game because of the players. So I feel like the players definitely deserve more money and a bigger cut of the pie. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I had to say about the CBA. Just keep your fingers crossed. I hope by this weekend we have good news that, you know, the players have accepted the deal and we can get on with the 2020 season and get on with free agency. But as you know, it is getting it's about that time next week where free agency will open up. And I'm very interested to see what our Atlanta Falcons do in free agency. If you've been looking on AtlantaFalcons.com, at first, like earlier in the week, they had 4 or 5 defensive ends that they think that the Falcons may target. And yesterday, they added 4 defensive backs that they think that the Atlanta Falcons may target in free agency. And personally, off of the list of DBs that I've seen on that list, the player that I would like the Atlanta Falcons to go after in free agency, if we're going to bring in a veteran defensive back, is Bradley Roby. He played with the Houston Texans last year, but he's a great player, a great cornerback. Bradley Roby was originally drafted by the Denver Broncos and played there for about 5 seasons. And last year he was traded to the Houston Texans. And I would love for the Atlanta Falcons to get their hands on a Bradley Roby. Like I said, he's a great player, goes about 5'11", 195 pounds. And he puts me in the mind of Asante Samuel. If you remember Asante Samuel, he played with us late in his career, like the last 2 seasons. He was in his 30s, but he still was a solid cornerback. He spent most of his career with the New England Patriots, where he won 2 Super Bowls with them. But he was a great cornerback, and that's who Bradley Roby reminds me of, an Asante Samuel type, where he's a ball hawk. He's one of those players that watches the quarterback's eyes, He played in the slot a lot with the Denver Broncos. So that's another reason I really like Bradley Roby, because he's very versatile. He not only can he play outside, but he can play inside as well. He was on that Broncos team that won the Super Bowl against the Carolina Panthers a couple seasons ago. And at that time, they still had Chris Harris Jr. and on the other side, Aqib Talib. So Bradley Roby was the third cornerback. They used him in nickel situations, and he was mainly that slot corner. And then when they lost Aqib Talib, he moved out to the outside corner position. And last season with the Texans, they moved him outside mainly. So he played mainly outside. But if you watched him in the playoffs with the Houston Texans, he got his hands on a couple footballs. I don't believe he had any interceptions, but he was really close to intercepting a ball. He may have intercepted like one pass in the playoffs. I can't remember, but I know he's a ball hawk. Like I said, he puts me in the mind of that Asante Samuel type, where he watches the quarterback's eyes. He's good and sitting in off coverage and then stepping in and picking the ball off. So baiting quarterbacks into thinking of players open in the flats. And then he has the speed to come up and pick the ball off and take it to the house. So I really like his game. I like him as an athlete. He did attend the Ohio State University when he was in college, and he's a very physical corner. And, I talked about that earlier in the year when I talked about the cornerbacks that I was interested in us drafting. He's one of those cornerbacks that will come up and hit you. And that's why I say he reminds me of Asante Samuel, because Asante Samuel was another guy that was not one of the biggest guys, but he was a very physical guy, and he would come downhill, and he was willing to lay his helmet, lay his shoulder, and he came downhill and was willing to tackle. And Bradley Roby is another one of those type of guys. Well, he will come up and hit you. He's very physical, a great athlete, and he has more speed. So if he were to come over to the Atlanta Falcons, I could definitely see him taking Oliver's spot. He definitely could play the outside corner or the inside nickel position. But I believe if Bradley Roby were to get on the team, he could really push Isaiah Oliver to either get kicked off the team or get cut, or for Isaiah Oliver to actually step his game up. Because personally, I think Kendall Sheffield has surpassed Isaiah Oliver. I think Kendall Sheffield is a better all-around player because of his quickness. Now, I don't want to disrespect Isaiah Oliver in any way, because he's still a young player. Last year was only his second season, and he did show a little bit of promise later on in the season. And he is one of those taller, lanky corners like Dan Quinn likes. So I don't think that I think it's still too early to say that Isaiah Oliver is a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I think he's a solid player, but I don't think that he's better than a Bradley Roby. I think if Bradley Roby were to get on this depth chart, that he would be the number 2 corner, but they may try to keep or try to play Roby in the slot, because I don't believe Isaiah Oliver, his hips are loose enough to actually play in the slot. To me, Isaiah Oliver is definitely an outside corner, and Trufant is another corner that's an outside corner. To me, both of those guys' hips, especially Oliver, his hips are too tight, and he's not that good. His hips are too loose, that he's not that good in coverage to be able to cover in those tight, against tight ends and against those slippery type wide receivers like a Wes Welker type or Cole Beasley. Those guys that play in the slot and those tight ends, I don't think that Isaiah Oliver is able to cover inside or play that inside corner position, just because he's not the quickest. He's not a quick twitch type player, where Roby is very quick twitch. He can definitely play in that slot, in that slot position. So I definitely would like the Falcons to definitely look at bringing in a Bradley Roby. I think that they would that he could definitely come in and bolster this secondary and definitely make our secondary much better. And he would definitely add more depth to this Atlanta Falcons secondary, because we need more depth, being that we have a couple players that are free agents, like a Bleedy Wade Wilson, who's a free agent. We have a couple of guys that are free agents, and we have a bunch of young guys. And I feel like he could come in and be that steadying force for those young guys. He can come in and mentor those young guys, because we have a ton of young corners on the outside. Other than Desmond Trufant, we really don't have any veteran corners anymore. Being that we let go of Robert Alford a year ago, we don't really have any corners other than Bleedy Way and Trufant that are veteran type corners. So he definitely could come in and help Isaiah Oliver, a Kendall Sheffield, a Jordan Miller. He can help bring those guys along. But you definitely should go check out Bradley Roby's tape on YouTube or something like that, or his highlight tape. He's definitely one of those guys, like I said, that's a ball hawk. He's a great corner, good. He doesn't get a ton of penalties as far as holding and pass interference. He knows how to move his hips. Like I was saying, he can shift his hips when wide receivers try to break on the ball. He's another corner that doesn't wait for the ball to come to him, but he goes to get the ball. He's a very, like I said, very physical corner, puts his hand in between the ball and the man, and he always is looking to make a play on the ball. He's not one of those type of guys that he's just looking to bat the ball down. He's one of those players that goes for it all, goes for interceptions. So it could be a downfall also with having a Bradley Roby, because sometimes he does get caught peeking in the backfield and he's susceptible to double moves because he's very aggressive. But I still like corners like a Bradley Roby, even with him giving up some ground sometimes or giving up a few catches. I like cornerbacks that try to make plays on the ball and not just run next to wide receivers and try to be in the vicinity. I like guys that go for the ball, goes for the gusto and goes and tries to make a play on the ball, because the Atlanta Falcons were one of the worst teams last year in taking the football away. And Bradley Roby is definitely one of those guys that can take the football away. Now, I was very impressed last year with Desmond Trufant with his 4 interceptions last year. He definitely did a better job at catching the football, because we all know in 2018, he didn't have a good season when it came to catching the ball or catching interceptions. He dropped a lot of interceptions. So last year, Desmond Trufant definitely proved that he did work on his hands in the offseason, and he did a better job at focusing and catching the football and intercepting the football. Now we just need Desmond Trufant to stay healthy, because he is a number 1 corner. So I feel like Bradley Roby could definitely come in and be that number 2 corner or that number 3 corner in the slot, or they can, he can mix and match. Sometimes put him on the outside, sometimes play him inside. But I definitely feel like he could add some versatility, being that we still have Kendall Sheffield, who also can play that nickel corner. So you guys tell me what you think in the comment section below. What you think about Bradley Roby, us bringing him in and possibly signing with our Atlanta Falcons. Like I said, I'm down for the cause. I definitely think that would be a wise pickup. I definitely think that he's a playmaker, and I definitely think that he won't ask for that much money on the market. I don't think that he's like one of the top corners that's out there. The name that I've been hearing a lot is Byron Jones, the former corner of the Dallas Cowboys. He's like the top number 1 tier corner that everybody's reaching for. I'm hearing Philadelphia is really looking at him. But I think Bradley Roby is one of those guys that we definitely could bring in and can definitely be a solid cornerback for our Atlanta Falcons next year. But with that being said, this has been your boy Drew signing out. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. And as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace. I'll holler at you guys in the next video.